Lesson 10. I know that we started off together. We did 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 together. But I'm just going to go back to number 10 real quick to just make sure that we're looking at that correctly. So, if I locate 271 on my tens chart, my multiples of tens chart, where would that 271 be located? Where would it be located, Coulter? And if you want to go up and point to where you think it would be, you can go ahead and point. 271. Does everybody agree? Anastasia says yes. Aiden, you agree? 271? Christian? Christian says no. Okay. What about you, Nydia? Do you agree? Yeah? Christian, why don't you agree? And the number is what? 200. So, what do you think? Is he in? He's not in the correct? Oh, he's not in the correct row. Okay. So, what do you think now? Is he in the correct row now for 271? Okay, so grab the marker there and put a little dot there for us. 271. 271. Always have to look for the 200, right? Okay, so now our question is, let's think about our ones place. Remember, 275 is going to be in the middle, right? So 5 is in our ones place. 1, we need to figure out, is 1 less than 5 or greater than 5? It's less than 5, right? So if the ones place is less than 5, we're going to round down to, we're not rounding to the nearest 100, we're rounding to the nearest 10 right now. So it would be go to the lower 10, which would be what, Coulter? $270 or 280? Yeah, 270. How far away is it from 270? If I'm going to put that 1 right here where you're saying, then how far away is 271 from 270? Huh? By how much? Give me the exact amount. How far away is it? Huh? By 1. Right, 1. It's 1 away from 270, so it must be closer to 270. So we're going to put 270 here in our answer document, right? Okay, you checking your paper? Let's look at 574. Christian, go up there and point to where 574 would be. Okay, grab your green marker over there. Grab the green marker over there. And now, show me where 574 would be. Okay? And remember, 575 is right in the middle, right? So is that less than 575? Or is it greater than 575? It's less than 575. So are we going to round down to 570? Or are we going to round up to 580? We're going to round down to 570. Correct. Because the 4 is less than 5 in the digit. So, 570 is what our answer is for number 11. So, if you are incorrect, make sure that you write it with the pen, right? Let's make sure we're writing it with pen. That's why you have your pens. Okay? Now we're going to go to the back. And we're going to think about hundreds. Now, on our number chart, hundreds are on the left and the right sides of our number chart. So we're going to be thinking about which one is it closer to, and we're going to be using the 50 as our point of deciding. Is the tens place less than 50 or greater than 50? Right? We look at the place value before. So 336, Anastasia, go up there and point to where 336 would be. Here's a clean marker. $336. Okay, does everybody agree with that? Aiden? Yes? You guys okay with that? Yeah? All right. So now we've got to look at what two hundreds are on the left side and the right side of that number. Anastasia? Right. We know it's going to be between the hundreds of 300 and 400. Now, we know that 30 is in our tens place. So what does that tell us when we think about 50? 350. It's going to go up to 400. Is it past 350? So if it's not past 50 in the tens place, then what would we do? Round down to the lower 100, which would be 300. Right, 300. So on our answer document, 336, and remember it's saying round to the nearest 100, not the nearest 10. So it would be 300. If you got it correct, you can put a happy face. If not, you can always put an X, or you can put a star. If you didn't get it correct, put an X and write the answer correctly with your pen. Okay? Remember, this is just practice. We want to see how you're doing. Okay. Coulter. Oh, you've already been up, right? Nydia. Have you been up already? No? Okay. So let's look at the number 185. Where would 185 be? And go ahead and get that orange marker. That's going to be your marker over there. The orange one in the basket. Okay. Where would 185 be located? 185. So think about 100. Where's 100? Okay, now let's think about 180. Where's 180? Okay, now where would 185 be? So if this is 100, and then I'm looking for 180, where would 185 be? Point with your finger. Yeah, because what comes after 180? 181, 182, 183, 184, 185. Okay, so use your marker. You're going to be the orange marker. And I'm going to put a mark there. All right, now we have to look at the tens place. Our tens place is 80, right? So are we going to round to this lower 100, which is 100, or are we going to go to the upper 100? Because this is where 185 is. Where are we going to round it to? Yeah, it's closer to 200. It's past 150, and since it's past 150, we know that it's going to round up to 200. It's really close. It's 15 away from 200. So on our answer document, we're going to write rounds to 200. closer? Hey, Coulter, back to you. What color is your marker? The dark red? Okay. So now I want you to find 279 for me. Okay? So you're saying it's right here? Does everybody agree? Yes? No? Why not, Aiden?
I think it should be farther out.
Like over here? Or like over here between another set of tens?
No, just farther between 270 280.
So you're basically saying it needs to be closer to what?
280.
It needs to be closer to the 280.
Yeah, because it's 9.
So 279, he's saying it should be closer to the 280. Which one is your mark? Well, that's pretty close. He's got this one right here. That's where he's got it, right there, 279. That's pretty close. I think the other one was from somebody else's answer. Okay, so 279, we look at our tens place. What's in our tens place for 279? What's in our tens place? 70. Is that past 50?
Yes.
And if it's past 50, what do?
Round up
We round up. So where are we going to round that to, Coulter?
to 300.
To 300. So we're going to place that on our answer document. So 279 is going to round to 300. Okay, let's look at 552. Christian, what color is your marker? We're going to look at number 15, which is 552. So where's 552 going to be located? Where? So between the 550 and the 560, right here. Okay? Now, we're going to think, what two hundreds is that number between? Right? So it's going to either round to 500 or it's going to round to 600. So now looking at where it's at, the tens place is 50, isn't it? It's past the 550 by just 2 more. So are we going to round down to 500 or are we going to round up to 600? Up. Right, because it's past the 50. Even though it's past the 50 by 2 more, it's still past 50, isn't it? So we're going to round that up to 600, which is the next 100 after 500. So on our answer document, we're going to make sure that we have written 600. Now, if you got it incorrect, fix it with your pen. If you got it correct, you can put a star or a little happy face next to it. That's perfectly fine. Okay? Okay, Anastasia? The next one is 741. We want to locate 741 on our chart, our multiples of 10 chart. 741. Where's that going to be? Okay, so you're saying it's right about here. Alrighty. So now I want to say we're rounding to the nearest 100. So what 200s does that fall between? 700 and 800. Now let's look at our tens place. It's 40. 40 is not past 50, right? So what happens? Right, we're going to round it because it's closer to 700. It's 41 away from, it's 41 away from 700, but it's 69, right? 69 away from 800. Or 59, actually, 59 away from. Okay? So, what's our answer going to be on our answer document? 700. Rounds to 700. Okay. Oh, this one might be a little tricky. 903. Aiden, into yours. This is the nice
903.
903. Yes, where is 903 going to be? Let's see. Does everybody agree? No? Christian, you don't agree? Yes? Everybody's agreeing? Yes? Okay, 903 would be right about here, right? It's going to be between 900 and 910. Now, if we were going to have to round this to the closest 10, it would still be between 900 and 910. Because remember, 900 is still a group of 10 once you get 10 tens. 10 tens makes 100. So, oh, we're not quite done yet. So what two hundreds does that number come between?
Well, there's 1,000 and
900 and 1,000. Now, some of you might say, well, how is 1,000 100? Because remember what happens when you get to 900 and you're counting by hundreds. You make a new place value, right? Which would be 1,000, or some people call it 10 hundredths. So then it would be 1,100, 1,200, 1,300. We kind of went over that pattern the other day. So 903, look at your tens place. Is there anything in the tens place? Do we have anything in the tens place?
No.
So it's definitely less than 50, isn't it? So what are we going to round it to? We're going to round it to 900. Okay, I'm going to skip to number 21, and it says Kyle sold 213 raffle tickets to the nearest 100. About how many tickets did Kyle sell? So, got the same idea. We want to know where 213 would be. Nydia? We want to round it to the closest 100. So where is 213 going to be? Get your colored marker. Okay, does everybody agree with that? She's saying it's between 210 and 220. She's saying it's right here. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now, remember, we're rounding to the closest 100, not the closest 10. So we want to look at our left and right sides. So 200 and 300. So which one is it going to be closer to? It's going to be closer to 200. And if we look at the tens place in 213, is that less than 50? Yeah, 10 is less than 50. So remember, we want to make sure that it's going to be, if it's less than 50, we round down. If it's greater than 50, we round up. Yes? Okay. Go ahead and make any corrections you need to if you didn't get it correct. I'm going to go to one more, which is number 23. And number 23 says, the number 495 rounds to 500. So they're already even telling us what it rounds to. When rounded to the nearest 10 and to the nearest 100. Explain why this is true. Okay, so we need to take what they're asking us to find and put it into an answer statement. So I'm going to help you put this into an answer statement if you didn't already put it into an answer statement. So you could say 495, 90. You can if you need some help with it. 495 rounds to 500. When it's the nearest 10 and 100. And then we have to explain. Because. So 495 rounds to 500 when it's the nearest 10 and 100. Because, or since, we could also put since, or for a couple of reasons, as long as we have some kind of transition phrase there, it's going to help. So I'm going to locate 495 on our, actually, Aiden, why don't you go up there? Locate for us where 495 would be. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here's a marker. Okay, so where are you saying it's between?
400.
Huh?
400.
Okay, but where did you put your dot? Between what? Two tens?
90 and
490 and 500, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just asking about the nearest 10, it's also the nearest 100, right? So let's think about first, why does it round to, first thing it asked us is rounds to the nearest 10, right, Coulter? So why does 495 round to 500? What's the two tens it's between? You put it right here. You just erased it, I think. You put it right there. So why does it round to 500? Okay, but remember, we're not looking at rounding to the nearest 100 yet. I'm asking why does it, when we round to the nearest 10, why does it round to 500? Think about what our rules are. I've got the number 495. If we're rounding to the closest 10, what place value are we going to look at to decide whether it goes to the lower 10 or the upper 10? So which digit are we going to look at whenever we decide if it goes to the lower 10 or the upper 10? Which place value do we look at? But how did you decide that? How did you decide that it was going to go up to 500 and not down to 490? What was the rule? If the ones place is less than 5, we round down to the lower 10. If the ones place is greater than 5, we round to the greater than 5. Okay, I want to help you out a little bit. So let's think about this. If I were to take, and I was to zoom in on this area, 490 and 500, and I zoom in on this, then I know 495 is right in the middle because it's 5 from 90 and it's 5 from 500. And in between there is 491, 492, 493, 494, 495, 496, 497, 498, 499, 500. Yes? Okay. So, 491, 492, 493, 494, 495, 496, 7, 498, 499. Now, our rule is, when we look at our ones place, and we're rounding to the closest 10, we want to look at the ones place. If it's less than 5, which means if it's 4, 3, 2, or 1 in the ones place, we're going to round it to the lower 10. If it's greater than 5, or 5, because that's part of our rule, if it's 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 in the ones place, that tells us we're getting closer to the next 10, right? Which would be 500. 500 happens to be a group of 10 because we had 10 tens to make that new 100. So now, Coulter, let's go back and think about what we just said just a little bit ago. If I'm going to take 495 and I'm going to round it to the closest 10, look at my ones place. Is it less than 5 or greater than 5? Huh? Actually, it's what? It's just 5, right? Means it's right in the middle. And what happens when our number's right in the middle? We're going to round up, up. It's like on the top of a hill. If there's an egg at the top of the hill, we don't know which side the egg is going to fall on, right? But in rounding, we know which side the egg is going to land on if it's right at the top of the hill, because 5 tells us it needs to go to the right, not the left. So it should be to the next 10, right? Not the lower 10. So, going back to our answer statement, 495 rounds to 500 when it's the nearest 10 and nearest 100, because 495 is between 490 and 500, since it's in the middle, we round to 500. Now, for the hundreds, for the 200s, it's between, what's it between? 495, what 200s is it between? The 200s. Even hundreds. What 200s is that number between? Right. these are our hundreds, 400 and 500 right here. So if it's between 400 and 500, the 200s it's between, and maybe we should say 409 is between 400 and 500, but it's closer to, what's it closer to? What's it closer to? Which hundred is it closer to? It's closer to 500, right? And also, it's past 450, right? Because remember, we're looking at our tens place, and we see a 9 in our tens place. And that tells us 90 is past this 50, which is our halfway point. So 50 goes past 50, it's 90. We're going to round up. It's going to round up to 500. Past 450. And since it's past 450, we know we're going to round up. Okay, so that should give us some more practice on looking at how we are rounding to the closest 10 and the closest 100. We're going to practice some more in our books today.